Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are at quorum, so we would like to get started. For the record, the time is now 1:01 p.m. in the afternoon, and we have begun the Assembly Bill 32 Environmental Justice Advisory Committee public meeting. Welcome. My name is Jane Harrington from Leading Resources, and I'm the facilitator for today's meeting. I'm always happy to be with you today. To get started, I'll cover some housekeeping and logistics. Spanish interpretation will be provided in the Zoom Spanish channel for the duration of the meeting. We have 2 interpreters with us for that. For those here in the building, restrooms are outside the door to the left and down the hall by the drinking fountains. In case of an emergency, please exit out the door and to the right down the stairs. We will have public comment periods today. For members of the public participating remotely, you will be able to raise your hand in Zoom to speak. When it's your turn, the host will ask you to unmute, and after you click on the unmute button from your end, you may begin to speak. We appreciate you staying on mute until it is your turn to speak. In the event that *6 does not work to unmute, CARB can unmute you. We will be switching off between commenters in the room and those on Zoom. For public commenters, a few requests. Before providing your question or comment, please state your name and affiliation, if applicable, so that we know who is speaking. We will do our best to do the same in the room for members of the public to know who is talking. Please limit your comments to that agenda item. We intend to give each commenter 3 minutes to speak, and we'll let you know if any changes are required based on the volume of comments expected. And while EJAC welcomes your comments, committee members will not be responding to public comment. Zoom Q&A and chat functions are turned off for participants. And now I'd like to introduce our Spanish interpreter that is on the line in the main channel. Grizel, if you could please introduce yourselves and translate the information on this slide.
Of course. Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes. Va a haber en esta sesión una oportunidad para poder hacer comentarios remotos. Van a poder levantar la mano si es que se están uniendo en Zoom para poder hablar y el anfitrión va a permitir que puedan activar su micrófono. De esa manera pueden empezar a hablar. También apreciamos que mantengan el micrófono silenciado hasta que sea momento de hablar. En caso de que el *6 no funcione, si está llamando desde un teléfono, CARB puede activar su micrófono también. Vamos a estar cambiando de comentarios en la sala a también aquellos que están en Zoom. Les pedimos que por favor digan su nombre y su afiliación antes de hacer un comentario o una pregunta y vamos a hacer lo mejor para poder apegarnos a los puntos de la agenda.
Thank you. For those who are participating in person, to prevent echoes, we request that you click on the symbol next to the unmute button as seen in number 1 on the screen. Next, select Leave Computer Audio as seen in number 2. And also please make sure to stay muted for the full duration of the meeting to avoid background noise as seen in number 3. Grizel, please provide the translated information.
Para las participantes que están en la sala, les pedimos que por favor eviten ecos. Para poder hacer esto, pueden presionar en el botón 1, como aparece en pantalla, al lado de su micrófono. Después, seleccionar la opción Abandonar audio de la computadora, como aparece en el número 2. Y después también pueden silenciar su micrófono para evitar que haya retroalimentación, como se ve en el número 3.
Thank you. Next, we will provide instructions and then we'll enable the Zoom interpretation features. When the interpretation globe appears at the bottom right corner of Zoom, as seen in item number 1, please choose your preferred language as English or Spanish, as seen in number 2. Grizel, please provide these instructions.
Ahora vamos a brindar instrucciones para poder después habilitar la interpretación en Zoom. Cuando se haya habilitado va a aparecer un globo terráqueo como se ve en la pantalla con el número 1 y después en la parte de al lado pueden escoger el idioma, puede ser inglés o español como se ve con el número 2.
Thank you. If for any reason you require technical support today, please contact CARB staff Christabel Ukamoto, who is in person here in Sacramento, by email as provided on this slide. We will do our best to assist you. Today's meeting is being recorded. CARB staff will post to the EJAC Meetings and Events website in the coming weeks. This is the same website where you can find all of the materials for today's meeting as provided on this slide. Grizel, could you please provide these instructions in Spanish?
Muy bien, la llamada del día de hoy también cuenta con asistencia técnica. En caso de que en algún momento tenga alguna necesidad, por favor contacte al personal de CARF. Christabel Ukamuru está presente aquí en Sacramento. También lo pueden hacer vía email, como se ve en la pantalla, y vamos a hacer nuestro mejor esfuerzo para ayudarle. También se está grabando la sesión del día de hoy. El personal de staff va a publicarlo en el sitio web para reuniones y eventos de CARF en las próximas semanas, y este es el mismo sitio web en donde puede encontrar los materiales y la información para la reunión del día de hoy. Gracias and thank you.
Thank you. With that, I would like to begin the EJAC member roll call. As a reminder, this is the formal record of meeting attendance, and therefore we ask that all EJAC members respond when your name is called. Please state here your affiliation, pronouns, and if you are on or off camera, and if off, the reason for doing so, consistent with our meeting requirements. For EJAC members who join the meeting later, we will be asking for them to also verbally announce their attendance in the same fashion so it's clear to all participants. To begin, Martha Dina Arguello,
Yep, Marta de Narvaez, here.
Juan Flores,
Hello, everyone. Juan Flores with the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. I'm in transit and hope to be on a stable place pretty soon.
understood. Thank you, Juan. Dr. Catherine Grupa,
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Catherine. I use they and she pronouns with the Central Valley Air Quality Coalition, or CVAC. I am joining virtually and will be on camera until about 2 o'clock, and then we'll need to shift to my phone and we'll drop off from the meeting around 2:30.
understood. Thank you. Kevin Hamilton, John Harriel Jr., Thomas Helm,
Everybody, Tom Helm, Valley Improvement Projects, he, him, his, present virtually.
Matt Holmes,
Hi, Matt Holmes, California Environmental Justice Coalition. Present virtually for the moment, off camera because the other people in this elevator are us, and I'll be in the room there with you all shortly.
wonderful.
Yeah, masculine pronouns.
Thank you. John Kevin Jefferson III,
Hello all, how are you? I've had network connection issues all morning, so I'll be on and off video. Good to see you all.
understood. Thank you. Ray Leone, Luis Almedo, Jill Sherman Warren. All right, so we have 6 members in attendance. Again, we are at quorum. At this point, I will turn it over to Chanel Fletcher, CARB's Deputy Executive Officer for Equity, Communities, and Environmental Justice, to kick off with some introductions and opening remarks.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, there we go. Good. I want to say good morning. Oh my God, it's the afternoon. It's been a day. Welcome, everybody. I think, as Jane said, my name is Chanel Fletcher. I'm a Deputy Executive Officer at the California Air Resources Board. Happy to be here with everyone, and want to extend a huge amount of gratitude and thanks for everyone, EJAC members, CARB deputies, the chair's office, and the public for joining us today. We have a few items on the agenda. There's going to be an EJAC discussion, motion, and approval of the resolutions for cap and trade and building decarb. And then an EJAC discussion on the amended natural and working land resolution, as well as EJAC discussion to approve the June 12th EJAC meeting minutes. So before I hand it over to Dr. Catherine and Martha Dina, I did want to touch on a few action items from the July 17th EJAC meeting. Just want to make sure everybody knows that we did correct the word, how can I say that? Emerald in the May 15th EJAC public meeting minutes. I think that was suggested by Dr. Catherine, and we did post those minutes to our webpage under approved EJAC meeting minutes. Martha Dina and Dr. Catherine also had requested that our legal team provide a response on whether or not a letter can be sent to the legislature that was signed and that was distributed and signed by multiple EJAC members and outside parties outside of the public meeting. So I think we did actually inform the co-chairs that if the letter is on a topic within the EJAC's jurisdiction, then they cannot send it to more than 4 EJAC members to remain compliant with Bagley-Keene. So it can either be kept to a subquorum or included as a discussion item at the next noticed EJAC meeting. And so I think my understanding, and Dr. Catherine or Martha, please chime in if this is incorrect. I believe that the EJAC landed on just sending in the letter from the 2 co-chairs as a result of that. I did want to say a huge amount of thank yous and gratitude to Jane for working with Matt Holmes and Kevin Hamilton to help move the conversation recommendations on natural working lands. And with that said, I will turn it over to our EJAC co-chairs to provide their opening remarks and then kick off today's discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Chanel. This is Dr. Catherine. I will start and just say I'm sad not to be in the room with you all. You being on the other side on Zoom, you all look very tiny on my screen. But it's always nice to be in person when possible. And I know that I am not alone today in having the experience of it being the first day back to school. That is why I will need to step out at 2:30 because I think those of you that know me know that I have 2 kids and my eldest has just started at middle school. So definitely
I
want to be
cannot
there.
hear Dr. Catherine.
Oh, sorry, who can't hear me?
Veronica, can you hear Catherine? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can. Now I can. Okay, maybe it was on my end. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, definitely let me know if you can't hear me. But I will be going to pick up my 7th grader and 4th grader to hear how their day went at school. So just wanted to wish everybody a happy back to school and also thank staff of the facilitation team. You all are always a really important, helpful support for us as co-chairs, but particularly today because you were very sensitive to my logistical needs and helped sort the agenda so that I could be here for the cap and trade resolution, which is an item that's of course near and dear to my heart and something that I've worked on and want to be available for. So with last time, I'm going to keep my comments brief so that we can get into our agenda items. I just want to note, as Martha Dina spoke to so eloquently at the beginning of our last meeting, there are so many critical conversations going on as we approach the end of the legislative session, not the least of which is the potential extension of the cap and trade program, how greenhouse gas reduction funds will be spent, and a whole slew of other issues that really matter to us all. So again, I want to thank everyone for their presence, for their hard work on behalf of EJ communities, for showing up and representing on all of these issues while life and other things are happening in the background. As EJAC, especially as we're in our last few months in this iteration, it really is critical that we continue to inform these conversations and stay engaged. So just to confirm what Chanel said, the letter about the cap and trade program and the recommendations that we've put forward were sent to representatives in the legislature, was circulated to the CARB staff to share with board members. It was shared with EJAC members, and it is posted on the EJAC CARB webpage. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Martha Dina.
So good afternoon, everyone. And I want to echo Catherine's thanks and just remind us that we have a little less than a month before our September 11th joint meeting of the board. And I want us today and to be clear about some of the goals for that meeting, what we really want to convey with the board, what the nature of that conversation is going to be, because too often, our conversations with the board end up feeling rushed, and because everybody, we all want to riff on the conversation, and it gets interesting. That I really want us to use this meeting and perhaps some follow-up sub-forum meetings to really plan and so that we can get through, because really this is the September 11th meeting will happen when negotiations will probably still be going on. We expect a lot of things to be happening until the very end of the session, and it's a critical moment, and this is what our committee was made for. This is the moment where they're going to reauthorize cap and trade, and the people on this committee know better than many what it has taken to try to keep the AB 32 promise that things would not get worse in our communities and that we might perhaps can make them better, along with all the other promises of actually getting to a declining cap and all of those things. And so this is the moment our committee was made for. We have so much history and things to offer, both the board and the legislature, about the fixes that have to be made to make California's climate programs effective and truly rooted in public health and environmental justice. And so, with that feel, that's the sort of the sense of urgency that I want us to take into today's meeting around being prepared, being clear about what we want, because the stakes could not be higher in terms of the cap and trade, offsets, allowance, the low carbon fuel standard, our managed decline, and commitments the administration has made to reducing drilling in our communities, as well as reducing the demand for fossil fuels. So just want to, again, thank all of you, and for us to keep that urgency, clarity, and discipline so that in December we can speak with one strong, clear voice for the communities that we represent. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate what Martha and Dr. Catherine is stating so clearly, is that we have taken a tremendous hit in this environmental justice work, not with the last administration, but to the tenfold with this new administration. And we got a lot of work to do. We've progressed, but then we've sort of hit a plateau, and we're going backwards in a sense. So we got to steady the course, and be amongst those critical meetings that are coming up. Funding is an issue, priority is an issue, and we can't allow this horrible administration to derail what we've been doing here. Let's steady the course. We are in the largest economy in the world, so there's no reason why we can't do the work that we're doing in accordance with all the other issues that are going. So let's steady the course and make things happen. Good to see you all.
Thank you. We'll now move to the agenda and the meeting agreements as provided by the co-chairs.
So I think Chanel already hit on our main agenda items. We're gonna take a final look at the amended cap and trade resolution, and after public comment, entertain a motion to adopt it. We're going to discuss the building decarbonization resolution, and after public comment, entertain a motion to adopt it. We also have space to discuss the natural and working lands recommendations. The group will take a break as needed. Then the item to approve our June meeting minutes. Again, public comment and a motion to approve. And then again, public comment followed by CARB announcements and next steps and closing remarks.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to read I feel like we do this every time. So we do, but, and you know what they are: pay attention and equity of airtime, be present, be open and flexible in our approaches, be realistic, and monitor our ability to get through the full agenda. Seek synergies in our work, yes, and keep your cameras on throughout the meeting, and if not, let us know so that we can maintain quorum. If you're leaving the meeting, you can notify the co-chairs or the staff via the chat. Listen and be compassionate and supportive. And active listening, reach for and invite inspiration and intuition. Look for ways to move our agenda forward. Respect the agenda and trust the process, and share responsibility for success.
Thank you. Before we move to the next agenda item, I note for the record that we've had two committee members join us, and so I'd like to invite Jill Sherman Warren and Luis Almeida to state their presence and their affiliation.
Hey, Young, this is Jill Sherman Warren. I'm currently in transit, so I won't be on camera. I am the Executive Director of the Native American Environmental Protection Coalition, and I'm also the Ahupa tribal member. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to have you. Luis Almeida?
Good afternoon. My name is Luis Olmedo. I'm the executive director from the Pacifico del Valle. My deepest apologies for being off camera and also limited on my technological access. But thank you for a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a little difficult to hear you, Luis, but I appreciate you might be having technical difficulties. At this point, we will move to agenda item number 4, the EJAC discussion on the cap and trade program recommendations. I will turn it over to EJAC to lead that discussion.
Thank you, Jane. This is Dr. Catherine. So just to give a little bit of context for the recommendations, the committee originally adopted a resolution on the cap and trade program in November of 2024. This resolution was based on numerous expert speakers that we had invited during public meetings, as well as years of work through the carbon markets work group, both during the scoping plan process and since, that includes EJAC members and non-EJAC members, to really help inform and shape the resolution that is before you today. The resolution as amended does not radically change any of the language or recommendations previously. In fact, it refines and sharpens the things that we were already suggesting. So along with incorporating the edits that were mentioned during the last public meeting, like spelling out the acronyms BACT and BARCT and removing major sources from a section, there is one section, if you could scroll down a little bit, that's highlighted in green, that was a whereas, where we had left a placeholder because we know how important it is in this world of numbers and making everything quantitative, that we be able to talk about the real costs that our communities bear. And while there's a lot of research and data out there that quantifies the health impacts of air pollution and the impacts of the climate crisis on frontline communities, ultimately in conversations with folks, the conclusion we reached was none of the existing models and ways of quantifying those costs really can adequately capture the burden that our communities are bearing. So rather than trying to cite 20 different studies and give caveats to where the data came from and whether it was California specific or not, where we landed was, whereas the public health and social costs of air pollution and the climate crisis, and particularly the disparate impacts on communities of color and low-income communities, continue to be challenging to quantify and are therefore underestimated and inadequately represented in existing models and plans. That was the recommended modified language that came from the work group. And I did share this with the committee a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully you all had an opportunity to look at it in advance. I do want to again recognize and appreciate all of the participants in our work group and everybody who's contributed to the resolution. This is really important work for us to be able to name our priorities. So with that bit of context and overview in terms of what the amendments and changes to the resolution are, I'll stop and see if anyone has any comments that they would like to add or questions.
Great. Looking to the committee for comments, questions, discussion.
I just have one quick comment or question. The very last part where it asks CARB to explain legal reasoning why they couldn't do any of these asks. That has been asked before. I can't remember if it was in relation to cap and trade or something else, but I'm just curious, has CARB followed up and given explanations to the ask, whether it was about cap and trade or other issues before? And if we don't have the answer, that's fine. I was just curious.
I mean, I can take an initial pass, although obviously I can't speak on behalf of CARB. So then we'll open it up and see if a CARB representative also wants to share. And for whoever's controlling the screen, if you want to scroll all the way to the bottom, it's the very last. Therefore, be it further resolved. Because I've spent so much time with this resolution that I basically have it memorized. So one thing I would note is that when it came to the recommendations we made on the low carbon fuel standard, folks may remember that there was kind of a chart that was created where EJAC made recommendations and then CARB responded and then EJAC made recommendations. And so from my perspective, what we're asking for here is something similar. And I would say both related to all of our recommendations and also particularly because with the cap and trade program, part of where we've had some back and forth that I would say is still unclear what the responses are was over numerous meetings. We've talked about the difference between facility level caps and no trade zones. And there's been some responses that legally or within CARB's existing authority that they can't implement no trade zones. And so then I've said, okay, well, what about facility level caps? And that's never really been answered. So I think what we're asking for here is that level of specificity in response is recommendation by recommendation. Is this within CARB's authority? If it's not, then why not? Especially because as conversations are happening in the legislature, if we need to ask for a legislative fix because CARB is literally saying it's not within their legal authority, we as EJAC members need to know that so that we know where we're directing our recommendations. So that is why that be it further resolved is the closing statement and is particularly important. And again, I'll stop and see if people have other questions on that or if anybody from CARB wants to add anything.
And that's exactly the issue I was thinking of. Thank you for reminding me. It seems like a lifetime ago. And I would just comment that CARB, please answer those questions, especially if it's a legal reason. It should be easy to answer. Thank you.
Hi, this is Radhika Majel. Sorry, I'm out sick today, but from CARB. And I've noted the request. We'll talk to the team and then work on this request.
Matt Holmes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Dr. Catherine for asking that question in the summary of the resolution. I mean, I really think this speaks to the soul of this institution and whether or not it can be redirected at any given time. We've heard about the legal constraints and honoring vulnerable communities, but when we were put on across the carbon, we all understand our mandate there. And so I really think we need an answer to this, and I hope Veronica feels better. And we do get a clear legal ruling because it informs all of our advisory work. And it seems to be something that the EJAC and board members are in alignment with. And so I look forward to staff helping us find a language that lets us work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, questions?
I do want to remind EJAC, this is Radhika Majal again from CARB. I do want to remind everybody that cap and trade is in legislature. So just want to raise that flag for everybody in understanding that, our because of the process where it is in right now, there may be some concerns or about the responses. So just because it's in the legislature, we just have to be, we'll just go with, we'll work with the team and then let you know what we hear back from the team.
Matt?
Can I just ask a clarifying question of Veronica? Is there sort of a formal gagging of staff during the legislative process? There was something similar when I worked for the federal government. And just for the transparency of this meeting,
yeah,
is there a restraint placed on staff?
Not restraint placed on staff, but we don't want to get ahead of the legislative direction.
Understood. Makes sense.
Dr. Catherine?
Thanks. And I also hope you feel better soon, Ronica. That's pretty miserable to work when you're sick. So I would just layer on a couple of pieces of context because I do think this is a particularly important point. Again, it's why we closed the resolution with it. We originally passed this in November 2024 because we understood that there would be conversations in the legislature this year and that we needed that level of clarity and that we had gotten recommendations like that if we wanted no trade zones, that we needed to go to the legislature to do that. So I want to push on the fact that we are looking for clarity as EJAC because we are trying to figure out where can we collaborate with CARB and where do we need CARB to be given further direction. Again, in thinking about how we work in that spirit, it's important that we have those difficult conversations because I think part of what Matt was alluding to is if we never get clear answers about what can be done and what can't be done, then it makes it very difficult for us to identify where we can work together. And in my tenure of the 4+ years that I've been on this EJAC, I think the cap and trade program has been one of the most difficult conversations and the hardest for us to say, here are the things that we would like. Where can you work with us on these? Literally at the end of last year when this amendment got passed, and even at the joint board meeting, the response that we had basically gotten was take all of your recommendations to the legislature. So I fully recognize, given the timing that we're in now, that this legislative session, if the program is extended, there may be changes that the legislature makes that it will take time for CARB to process. And also, this program is managed by CARB. And I continue to ask as an EJAC member, where are there places that within CARB's authority, we can strengthen this program to meet our climate goals in a way that reduces the burdens in environmental justice communities? That's clearly what we've been asking for from the beginning. We've been discussing this program for years, and I frankly can't point to one thing that we have agreed to. I think there are other success stories that we can look towards in things like building decarb and AB 617, and I would also like to find that with cap and trade.
Thank you. Martha, Dina, going in order here, I saw your hand go up and then down. Did you want to add anything?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, I think following on Catherine's point, that we have asked for things that would help us and help the legislature and help a lot of people better evaluate the program, better evaluate its impact on the low-income communities and on air quality, like the adaptive management plan. And again, that hasn't happened. And so, all of this is to say that we also recognize that staff is talking to the legislature and the governor's office about what this reauthorization will look like. And so we understand the interplay. And so we think it's important to continue to make our points because, and we would hope that CARB staff would begin to be a lot more open to the fixes that we have been suggesting. Yeah, that I'm done.
Thank you. Kevin Jefferson?
Yes. It sounds like now is not the time to speak with the EJAC about negotiations. So I was wondering, could you share with us what are the current EJ recommendations to legislature by your team, and who are those members and who's negotiating for the EJ concerns?
I can jump in. I'll say this really quickly and then I actually have to jump, but we aren't. So the legislature gives us direction, right? So we are a state agency, they direct us. So we are not in the building negotiating anything. I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know, Catherine, if you can speak more to like who's holding the conversations around EJ and the legislature, but it's not us at CARB. So I don't know. And I know other folks may also be in those legislative conversations. I just wanted to be clear, like we are not.
So
they just give us direction. That's really how it works.
So okay, so in the instance that you are not negotiating, Are you at least staying abreast of the negotiations that are going on, and can you share those?
No, I mean, what really happens is that the legislature can call on us, like they have done that in the past, right? Where like they've called on like the chair to speak at a joint legislative committee, for example. They've called on like other CARB staff members to speak to and to talk to legislators and inform them as they're developing the recommendations. But we're not, like my staff, me, I'm not in those negotiations.
So is it clear to say that up until today, we have no idea if our negotiations, recommendations, priorities are even in the conversation?
So I think what I shared was that the EJAC co-chair, so Catherine and Martha did submit a letter that was sent to the legislature. And I believe we shared that with board members. So that did go through. Or Dr. Catherine, I'm going to turn it over to you. I don't know if you want to share more about the conversations in the legislature. I just want to be clear that CARB is not having those conversations, but I know that we sent a letter to the EJAC sent a letter. The co-chairs did send a letter to the legislature.
Yeah, so obviously there are a lot of different EJ groups that are active in the legislature and shaping these conversations. On behalf of EJAC, which is what I hear your question being more directed towards, Kevin, there is the letter that we submitted with this draft resolution as our recommendations that we sent to folks in the legislature. As Chanel also mentioned, to kind of try to connect the dots here, the chair and Rajendra is the head of the Industrial Strategies Division, and other CARB staff do go testify in the legislature. So they are a part of the conversation. They do talk about the program quite a bit. We, again, have asked for responses and for staff to come present and have dialogue with us about if they're willing to make changes that would help improve conditions in environmental justice communities. That hasn't really been followed up on. And at the legislative hearings that I've been at, I can't recollect a whole lot of things that they said along the lines of supporting environmental justice priorities, other than to say things like that they're open to considering facility level caps and no trade zones. But I have heard that said by CARB leadership in the legislature and then followed up and been told something different by staff. And that's part of the problem with this issue, is that there's not actually substantive dialogue going on from my perspective. And again, I cannot speak on behalf of CARB, but I'm pretty sure folks in the legislature have conversations with CARB about how the program should be modified. And I've heard legislators ask in the public hearings, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you make recommendations about what would be feasible? So I do think it's a bit more of a two-way street from my perspective. I don't know if that helps, Kevin Jefferson, but that's my take on it.
Thank you. Just trying to figure out how we can communicate better and work more together.
Other discussion? Yeah, Radhika.
I just want to note that we've noted your request and we'll look into it. Just wanted to state that we heard you and we'll look into it.
Thank you. Other discussion from the committee? All right, noting that this item is agendized for a motion and a vote today, looking to Dr. Catherine as the lead on this item. Any additional discussion at this point on your end?
I don't think so. If no one else has comments or questions at this time, I think we're ready to go to public comment and then a vote.
Thank you. We will now open the public comment period on this particular agenda item. We ask that everyone who is interested in speaking in Zoom raise their hands and we will call on you accordingly. We will allow 3 minutes for each commenter at this time and let you know if we need to adjust that. Please state your name and affiliation before you provide your question or your comment. With no in-person commenters at this time, we will look to Zoom. I see one hand raised. So Mike Bullock, we will take you off mute and you can provide your comment. Mike, you should be unmuted on our end. You might need to unmute on yours. All right, it's possible Mike is having technical difficulty. I do note that in today's agenda, you can find an email address if there's anything we can do to help you provide your comment. And if you're not able to provide a comment during today's meeting, you're certainly able to provide written public comment. Mike, I saw you put your hand down and up, possibly. All right, Mike, I apologize. We can see that you've raised your hand and we will do our best to work with you.
Unmute.
All right. Hello?
I did not see the box to unmute. There's no way I could unmute. And so, can you hear me?
We can now hear you. I'm sorry about that. Please go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. Yeah, my name is Mike Bullock. I'm a retired systems engineer. Retired in 2007 after 36 years at Lockheed Martin. My title was senior staff systems engineer. And I've worked on climate change since 2007. I'm in a lot of environmental groups. And so I found your resolution to be interesting, what I looked at. And I would just say that at the beginning, whereas you should make it very clear that any time that there aren't, where people need more allowances, then you can allow, because we have to reduce our emissions in time. And our first deadline is 2005. 2005 is very close. And that's AB 32. Everybody knows that, AB 32. Everybody knows the plan to achieve AB 32 is the CARB scoping plan. And everybody knows that cars and light duty trucks by far are the category that is the most challenging and the largest category. There's more emissions there than anywhere else. And everybody here absolutely knows that we have to reduce vehicle miles traveled 25% by 2030 relative to 2018 levels of driving. And that there are 3 sets of mitigation measures. And you should have therefore be it resolved regarding all 3 of the important mitigation measures. And everybody knows that pricing is essential. That's said over and over again. Why is pricing essential? I'll tell you why. Because 2030 is so soon. It's I'll do the math for you. It's 5 years away. And so you cannot do a lot of things to reduce driving that you might like to do. And the fact is, in 2030, there's going to be a lot of internal combustion engine cars on the road. And that's why we have to reduce driving 25%. CARB did the math, I believe. I've solved that problem myself, presented the paper at conferences, and I showed all my derivations and math and everything else, which I haven't seen anything from CARB. But I can tell you CARB's in the ballpark. I think they did their work. I think 25% is right. And it shows me, and also their mitigation measures are right. And what are they? Double the transit service relative to 2018 by 2030. So that's a concern to you, because I can tell you right now, rich people are going to want that transit service. And EJ community will have to fight to get so that doubling of transit service is an overall average, you understand. I'm running out of time. That second 2 are most important: pricing of parking, pricing of driving, road use. So I've got a lot to say, and I don't, and I think it needs to be said. It needs to be in that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking in the room,
I'd like to go on if you don't have any other public speakers, but anyway.
we are limited on this item right now. Let me wait and see if we have any additional commenters.
Yeah, because the pricing are very important to the EJ community. Pricing is because money.
Can I have you hold on? Can I have you hold on just one moment while we confirm other commenters? All right, Mike, we will have an additional public comment period on any other action items today and also a general public comment period at the end of the meeting. And so I would ask that you hold your additional comments for one of those appropriate comment periods. At this time, because this item is agendized for action, I will turn it back over to the committee.
So unless anyone has further recommendations or edits, then I think if it's okay, as the person coordinating the work group, I'd make a motion to approve.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second on the resolution as written. I will now take a vote on this item. I'll start with Martha Dina Arguello.
I vote aye.
Juan Flores.
Yes.
Dr. Catherine Grupa.
Yes.
Kevin Hamilton.
Yes.
And noting for the record that committee member Hamilton has joined us. John Harriel Jr. Tom Helm.
Yes.
Matt Holmes.
Aye.
John Kevin Jefferson III.
Yes.
Ray Leon. Luis Almeida.
Yes.
Jill Sherman Warren.
Absolutely, yes.
That's 9 in favor. The motion passes.
Yay. I wish I had an emoji to celebrate because again, even though we've done this once before, it's really important that we've strengthened and aligned our language. So thank you again, everyone, for all of your hard work on this.
Good stuff, team.
We will now move to agenda item number 7, the EJAC discussion on the building decarbonization recommendations. I'll turn it over to EJAC to lead that discussion.
And I have voluntold Kevin to help lead, to walk us through. Kevin Hamilton.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. So everybody should have a copy of the document. It came along with the email for the meeting just a little bit earlier today. So if you don't, it's going to seem pretty mystical to you. So I'm not going to read this whole thing again. We've moved through all of the items that we felt were critical to bring forward. And we feel like this document is ready for prime time and to be voted on at this point. So I think things that I would want to call out is CARB needs to continue moving upstream to ensure that local communities are involved in the community co-design from inception to evaluation of regulatory building decarbonization initiatives. We don't need CARB and the contractors landing on our communities and saying, we're going to do this building decarb here and there, and this is going to change your whole life. We need to be involved. The communities need to be involved and engaged as these resources become more available and the technology evolves. So, and we feel very strongly about that. There needs to be funding for this. And so we have funding sources and we've called those out and how that money is being used. An example is the Air Pollution Control Fund here that we're using, but we feel very strongly that there needs to be a similar kind of approach to manage the long-term program that is the Equitable Building Decarbonization Program. And our program should be managed and budgeted and operated very similar to the one that CEC is operating, and we call that out in here. People have further questions about that, we're happy to talk about it.
Martha
We need
Dina,
to have,
sorry, Kevin. Martha Dina, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add something now to these
No,
comments. Or wait.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, Kevin. Go ahead.
yeah, well, I'm not going to read these word to word. That just doesn't make any sense to me, unless you would prefer that I do. I think that would take up a lot of time. And we feel that go ahead.
Because the materials were publicly posted and have been available for everybody to review, there's no need to actually read it into the record or read it for everybody today. I do see Dr. Catherine's hand raised.
Right. Give me just a minute. Got our highlights here, and that's about it. We need to have a ranking system so that we can move forward with this kind of work in a deliberate and intentional fashion that's going to produce the kinds of results we need, and that we can focus on the areas that are most in need. And that's referenced in the second from the bottom resolution, part of this resolution. And again, this collaboration, coordination with the other agencies that are tasked for the same project and the same type of work, CPUC and CEC, we need to see that kind of engagement happen in a transparent, accessible, and inclusive public stakeholder process. So right now, all three of those are meeting about this, mostly on their own, within their own, and we don't see this kind of collaboration that's going to be necessary between these three agencies to make this work and to stop each other from falling all over each other in various places. Maybe, again, missing the targets that are really in need. And that's about it. So we'll take questions, comments.
Thank you. Martha Dina and then Dr. Catherine.
Not so much a question, more of a comment that, again, this is an incredibly timely resolution, given that the Equitable Building Decarbonization Fund was reduced in the budget trailer. And so the resources that we have to make sure that the programs get into and are designed for low-income communities so that we're relieving their energy burden, making it affordable, protecting the housing when when you upgrade, all of those things, I think, are really key. And I think the EJAC should continue to engage with CARB as we can and bring those community voices to continue to push for that coordination. So, no real comment on the content, but to continue for us to push for this different kind of a process. And it isn't a stakeholder process where you're checking off and counting how many people came to your workshop like a widget, but that there is this collective problem solving so that we know that CARB can't do all of it, CAC can't do all of it, but we as advocates can do a lot to protect tenants, and we're doing that together, and we need more of this kind of collaboration. So that's my only comment.
Thank you, Dr. Catherine.
Thanks, Kevin Hamilton, for that overview, and Martha Dina for your comments and helping shepherd this forward, and to everybody who worked on this. CVAC is an active member of the BEEP Coalition, and our consultant Katie helps facilitate it. So I've said numerous times before, I definitely don't consider myself an expert on this issue, but I have full confidence in the groups of leaders who helped carry this resolution forward. So and generally want to express gratitude and support for it. I have one very small minor edit, which is Unless I'm missing it, I see here at the bottom of the resolution that CEC comes up and CPUC and CARB, and CPUC and CARB are spelled out above, but I don't actually see a place where CEC is spelled out first and then the acronym is used. So just for the clarity of everybody, I know it's easy to get into acronym speak and lots of us know who CEC is, but if we could just insert California Energy Commission brackets CEC to make sure that folks who are accessing this online, that it's completely clear. That's my only minor edit. And otherwise, again, thank you and in support.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, great resolution, very thorough. The only thing that I see, and I don't know if it's a typo, maybe it's on purpose. If so, feel free to ignore it. But the third paragraph from the bottom, the second sentence, it says CARB would. Is that supposed to be CARB should? It seems like should is more like that's what we're asking them to do instead of would, but maybe that's the way it was supposed to be. That's the only thing that I saw.
I can't see it, but I think that's the correct. It should, yeah.
Then the next
I
sentence,
can
ideally,
see it. Yeah, the sentence reads CARB would identify what. So taken in
CARB should.
context. Taken
yeah,
in
it's like, well,
context.
in an ideal world, CARB would. I think we should be saying CARB should.
Right.
That's just me. Feel free to ignore me. And then in the next sentence, ideally, this would, that is like ideally in an ideal world, it would, but that the first would, I think should be should. But
Yep, I think you're right.
that's it. Great job once again.
Thank you, Tom. Kevin Jefferson?
Yes, I would just like to hear from CARB. Is that something that they will do? Will CARB, I thought state and local resources can be committed to support successful implementations? It'd be great to hear that from CARB.
Hey, Kevin, this is Radhika from CARB. I just wanted to highlight that I know that the team, the Building Decarb team, is working very closely with EJAC on this process. So we can probably take those questions there as well. And I know there is a request from the team to meet with Martha, Dina, and Kevin as well. So.
And if I may offer some clarification for Kevin, is exactly what Radhika said. This has been a very different process with CARB, but also the resolution is to present to the board, and hopefully the board will be instructing them to do the things in the resolution. So that's kind of the timing of things. But over the course of the last 2 years, we have worked very closely with CARB staff and the Building Energy and Equity Coalition that Kevin is on and my staff works on as well. So there's been a lot of work for co-design, a lot of listening, and and in initial phases. So we still have a long way to go, but I think we've established a pretty good trusting relationship. As is it perfect? Nothing's ever perfect, but this is it feels very different than other processes.
Thank you, Martha Dina. Additional discussion from the committee?
Let's go ahead and take public comment.
Matt, I see your hand raised.
Oh, Matt's
Just
hand.
to
That's right.
underscore
You
a
can't
point
see it.
that Martha Dina made earlier. This is where we're going to learn about equity, and Kevin brought this up too. This is a generative problem. Our housing is super deep racist, and we have to address a ton of history. So this is something that requires co-design, and you got to put money up to bring together co-design. And so, our success on this challenge will be determined by how much we spend time and money on it. co-design isn't going to be convenient, but it's going to be way more efficient, way more cost effective than ignoring these communities. So thank you for making those points here.
Thank you. Other discussion? All right. Hearing none, I note that this item is agendized for action. So at this point, we will take public comment and move for a motion. So we'll now open the public comment period. We ask everyone interested, raise your hands in Zoom. We will allow 3 minutes for each commenter at this time. Please state your name and affiliation before providing your comment or question. With no in-person commenters, I'm looking to Zoom and seeing one hand raised. Mike, you should be unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the box and the button so I could unmute. That was really frustrating last time. So I've introduced myself. I just want to point out that EJ community people in general, often, generally speaking, have less money. The less money you have, the more important economic equity is. And so you need to look at building decarbonization in a way which increases equity. And I want to say again that cars, automobiles are by far the category that puts the most greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. And of course, the pricing is important. And I'm talking about pricing of car parking and the pricing of road use. And the car parking pertains to building decarbonization. Because when you build a building, part of that is always a parking lot, a parking garage, something like that. And it needs to be operated equitably. Now, you might think free is, how could it get any better than that? Free is great, isn't it? But it's never free, okay? It increases rent. It decreases wages that can be paid. Parking at work should be operated for the financial gain of the employees. It's the employee parking. It's not operated that way. And it seems like EJ people don't really understand that. They really think free parking is free parking, I'm afraid, because they don't talk about the fact that it's reducing wages. That parking should be operated for the financial gain of the employees. And yes, if someone has to drive every day, they're going to lose money. Their earnings will not be as large as the charge. And in that case, you're going to have to do a third payment so they break even. Everyone must break even. Now, if you have a parking vendor, the parking vendor will say, let me do this right. You may know of Ace Parking, and Ace Parking CEO has sat down with me. He knows my system. I've presented it at conferences, so on and so forth. And he will say that he will do the thing and he will make money. Guess what? He can monetize data. He can monetize unused parking. He is an expert, and you don't have to worry about the vendor. The vendor will perform the contract. You need a good contract that protects people. We need higher wages. Let me just go to something more simple. An apartment complex. The parking should be unbundled. That means it's not included in the rent. You're not fooling anybody by saying, oh, the rent costs this much money and there's free parking. No, the rent is much higher because of the so-called free parking, and there's no choice. People like choices. And so EJ community needs to.
We're at time on the public comment. All right. Looking to the room, seeing no one in public comment in the room, and looking to our virtual attendees, noting for the record, we have about 57 virtual attendees at this time. Noting I see no hands raised. We will move to action on this item. I note that 2 live edits were made to the document, kind of minor edits, and I think those were made in real time, so it will be that version that you are voting on.
So I will go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Since
You
I
do it.
was going to say, since I presented it, I'll fork myself here. There we go. Eating this pizza for lunch. So make a motion to, with the, looks like we already have the edits in the document, so I don't even have to do it with, provide a motion, please, to approve the building decarbonization recommendations from EJAC.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We will now take a vote on this item. Martha Dina Arguello.
Aye.
Juan Flores. Dr. Catherine Grupa.
Yes.
Kevin Hamilton.
Yes.
John Harrell Jr. Tom Helm.
Yes.
Matt Holmes.
Aye.
Kevin Jefferson.
Yes.
Ray Leone. Luis Almeida. Jill Sherman Warren.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that's 7 in favor. The
Yeah,
motion
apologize
passes.
for that. Yes.
Thank you. I believe, Luis, was that you adding your vote?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Noted. Wonderful. So 8 in favor, the motion passes.
If I could make one more comment, I just want to thank the whole team that worked on this. Martha, Dina, Catherine, and the group from BEEP and their staffs have been just great working through all of this. This has been a very lengthy and detailed process for this particular item. And I feel very strongly we came out the other end with a wonderful document that hopefully CARB will recognize and follow. We've done the heavy lifting here as far as charting a path forward. Now we expect them to take it. Thank you.
Thank you. That moves us to agenda item number 10, the EJAC discussion on the natural and working lands recommendations. I'll turn this over to the leads on that. I believe that was Kevin Hamilton and Matt Holmes.
That would be Matt.
Yeah, I guess I'm taking this in absentia. We've been trying to refine this resolution for a while, and we correctly identified last month that we were lacking directive. I think just for the sake of time and for transparency, the conversations that we had to shape those directives were kind of around like, are we asking for too much by saying that we want you to invest in nature-based solutions before the state invests in engineered solutions to carbon? And I think for a long time, this
Matt, I'm sorry, Matt, I'm going to pause
losing
you. I'm going to pause you just for a moment.
Yes.
We're having a little trouble hearing you. We can hear you clearly, and then it's like you're moving away from the microphone, possibly.
Yeah, it's a knockoff computer. I'm good though. Is this better? I'm right next to you.
Perfect.
And I'll slow down too. That, when we brought this issue up last time, we heard from multiple members of the community that we want to prioritize investing in nature-based solutions because they're proven and because they're next door and they're around our homes, they're around our kids, and they're around our elders. And behind the scenes, there's been discussion about whether or not nature-based solutions really hit the oomph that we need to sequester the carbon to keep this planet at the temperature centigrade change over time. And I always hate sounding like an absolutist, but when we talk about nature-based solutions, these are proven. These are millennia proven solutions, which is really a departure from the engineered solutions that we're looking to meet our carbon sequestration target. So when I responded to you, Jane, that there is a ton of evidence and there's a ton of academic support for prioritizing these solutions before attempting any unproven solutions. And so I think the directives that we've added here at the end of this are clear to the Air Resources Board. Californians will understand, and that even if we lose this climate fight, I think we'll all feel better if we take this path. And so with that, I just want to thank Martha Dina, Kevin Hamilton, Tom and Catherine for their comments last month, and hopefully to see this state, respond to the fight of its time by supporting its own people. And with that, I'll bequeath the mic to anyone else.
Thank you. Kevin Hamilton, did you want to add anything, or any other members, any discussion?
Sure. This is Kevin Hamilton. Right. There we go. Yes, again, I just echoing what our friend here has just repeated, that this document, we think, pretty much encapsulates the issues around natural working lands and how CARB and the state should be approaching this incredibly valuable and robust type of carbon reduction that is given to us essentially by the earth to use. And we are not using that to its full extent by any stretch of the imagination. And we hope that this document provides some of the guidance necessary to change minds about that. So I believe at this point, and if I'm stepping a little too hard, please let me know, because we didn't agendize this one for vote at this point. So are we going to have to leave this till the next meeting, or can we move it over to be voted? Because we feel pretty good about this document and that it's complete.
Yes, because it was not publicly posted on the agenda as an action item this time, we'll certainly move it to I believe it'll be the October meeting, and we can agendize it for action at this time. This was still a draft, and so is there any other discussion from the committee?
One more thing. Just want to thank, and I don't know if we thanked adequately. I know I haven't. Thank Jane for number one, being a great conductor, as I like to call it, of projects like this, who keeps their foot in everybody's butt and reminds them to get this piece going or that piece going, and then who is also a very good editor. So and has worked on all of these documents and helped us all out. So thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Tom, I see your hand.
Yeah, just oh, wait. Never mind. I thought it was a typo, but I read it wrong. Sequencing. I thought it was supposed to say sequestering. Never mind.
Thank you for the close read. Martha Dina?
And no, I think Catherine had her hand up first.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Catherine.
Yeah, thank you, and definitely appreciate the importance of this issue and that it's been discussed a few times. And folks have been working on it behind the scenes. I maybe missed it, but I don't believe that I saw this beforehand, so I haven't had a chance to read through it. I recognize that we're agendizing it for action for the next meeting. So I guess maybe in the interim, I just want to be clear on like who I would direct edits to if I have them, so that hopefully just process-wise, I'm trying to make sure that if I have input that I'm able to give it once I've had the opportunity to actually look through it, because this is the first time I'm seeing a more complete version, and because I'm on my phone, I can't actually look through it or read it. And also, if it's possible, I would really benefit from hearing from an expert speaker or two. I know we heard a presentation from CARB staff, and I know we've seen the 1757 committee recommendations, and I think At least a couple folks have been invited in the past who couldn't make it, but personally, I would really benefit if it's possible when this comes back up to hear from a couple of folks on it. Again, not because I don't think it's important, and I know that a lot of work has gone on behind the scenes. It's an area that I'm not an expert in, and I want to make sure we give fair and robust treatment to.
Yeah, if I may, we very much desire your input, and you can provide that to Kevin or Jane. And we do have technical experts from, whether they be Mawara or Tori Estrada, who we've all met before. And I think agendizing them remains a challenge.
So we can commit to agendizing them for October and bringing them in. And then I have, and maybe this isn't the place, but maybe we do need to reconvene this work group. Because I'm not sure how this fits in with the reauthorization process for the cap and trade. And then recognizing that we are soon going to go into the next scoping plan sooner than we all think. It'll feel sooner. What is sort of the other work that needs to get done here? Whether that's educating the legislature or what around, because folks still continue to, if you think of CEQA exemptions for advanced manufacturing, it's seeking more exemptions for perhaps carbon capture and sequestration facilities or other these things that, somehow people think advanced means clean, and we know it doesn't. So and maybe we don't have to answer it all here, but I do think that the legislature and even some of the staff really needs the deeper education on why this is viable. Folks tend to think, oh, what, planting trees is not going to do it. But we're calling for a collection of activities that can do a lot to restore the soil, to make our, to capture carbon, to clean the air. They never get the kind of attention and, respect that they deserve. So how, what is our role in making that happen? And again, I don't know that we have the answer now, but we now have at least till the meeting in October to do some of that thinking. So how do we develop a relationship with CARB similar to the one we've done with building decarb, that we can bring them along in a way that's not adversarial, but really rooted in promoting the practices that we know will really help our communities in multiple ways.
Thank you. Kevin Hamilton, I see your hand, and then Kevin Jefferson, I think I see your hand. You just raised your hand also. Kevin Hamilton, go ahead.
So, just to be clear on that, on what you just said, what I heard was two things. One thing is messaging to the legislature on this as they work through this budget and allocate how cap and trade money will be distributed. And unfortunately, this document, because it is tailing, won't be ready till October, and that process will likely be over by then, right? Is that what we're thinking, Arthadina?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then the other piece is more focused at the agency and meeting with the agency staff and how they're going to allocate funding and attention to this issue and integrate it into the other 3 items that we've been working on here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to get that clarification. So on our side, we have to work toward getting this document approved. Are you thinking that we could use the information in this document, though, for those folks who are working with the legislature to,
yep,
this is coming in October, but here's this information and here's what we'd like to see. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess my sort of follow up to that is, I don't work on these issues, so I don't know if there's anything moving. I don't know what other efforts are happening to really promote more of these kinds of resilient approaches to land management and all. So yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily know who to talk to or how to do that, but I mean, how, yes, but not who.
I think a lot of this is left to the air districts, but it's the way I always think about it. But an example is in turning orchards. You know, as we got rid of open burning, that was really more for air pollution, but all of us, I'm sure, were thinking about the carbon reduction we get from that at all as well. So, yeah, I think it's a really complicated area when it comes to who does what, where, when, who's in charge of everything, and how do we measure the outcomes.
Thank you. Kevin Jefferson, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just like to say that I think this document and the work and the efforts go a far distance in exposing the natural ways in which we need to get to, how to get to it, and why we need to get to it. But I think one of the things it doesn't address is the unnatural practices that the district continues to support, fund, and legislate for. In particular, the the pesticides, in particular, the refueling refinery oil industries that are continuing to pollute, continuing to violate rules and regulations, in the form of those industries that are polluting the waters and airways on a continuous basis, in the form of biofuel, whatever you want to call it. I think we need to discuss, have on paper, or at least define what are those unnatural practices that our agencies are continuing to support. And then in turn, we could have a roadmap as to what needs to be eliminated and how legislature and funding can support those efforts. But if we separate the two conversations, I don't know if we'll ever get to making real changes in those natural environments.
Thank you, Matt.
I just want to thank the two Kevins for sort of highlighting the dynamic that Martha was calling out, where some things get credulity and some things get sniffed at. And so landscape, conservation, maintenance, and construction are really well understood. We know how expensive they are. We know that they're longitudinal. And when people look at those budgets, they kind of lose their whatever. They have a hard time holding it together. But there's just a credulity applied to engineering solutions that kind of don't have proof of concept yet. They haven't even calculated in what happens when all the emergency vehicles engines don't run when they're trying to save somebody from a carbon leak. So there's a ton of uncalculated costs, solutions that I think we will need to implement in some ways. But jobs and green infrastructure and green infrastructure.
Matt,
You sound like you're under
hearing you. Matt, we're having trouble hearing you again.
I'm sitting on top of this computer. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll just sum up to say that I think there is a solution, and Kevin Hamilton was pointing at it. What are the silos in government sector, in the agencies, where they aren't sharing what they're doing on this issue? Because there's really cool stuff coming out of the state's rogue agency at the CEC. We do have incredibly peer-reviewed, solid scientific guidance from the AB 1757 Expert Advisory Committee over Natural Resources. And we have a host of carbon knowledge and expertise here in the Air Resources Board. And I don't think we're taking full credit for the value of these types of investments. And I think if we were to break down those silos, we'd be able to do a better accounting. Did that come through, Jane?
It did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Then I would like to propose that the Natural Working Land subforum group meet soon so that we can prepare all of this, because I think, I've heard some suggestions, and I invite anyone who has suggestions to actually give us language. And then, I would suggest that the Natural Working Lands subgroup meet perhaps identify some potential speakers and then figure out how we, for that October meeting, how we create the dialogue with CARB and maybe some of the other agencies. Because I also know that the process is that there's a process that was happening that's over. And so maybe with that working group, I can understand what are sort of future opportunities to intervene and to push some of our recommendations. But I would move that we do that in the sub-forum group to plan for October.
I agree 100%, but we need to have the two folks who are making these suggestions bring those forward in writing for us, or at least some kind of draft on that so that we can take a look at that.
Kevin and Martadina, if I can respond to that, this subgroup really delegated this to a statutorily formed expert advisory group in the California Natural Resources Agency that we got the legislature to pass because CARB doesn't have the core competency for this scenario.
Yeah.
So we do have really the most thorough recommendations of any subgroup in the EJAC's production for the last 2 years. And there's certainly plenty of experts who are eager to present in this forum.
Great.
If we can get them agendized, we can hear from them.
I think it would be great to meet with them again one time between now and then, Matt, if we can get that together.
Any additional discussion on this item? All right, and I'm hearing some next steps around the subcommittee or the folks that led the development of this resolution meeting and identifying next steps so that it's in the place that you want it to be for October.
I certainly look forward to helping coordinate with Martadina and Kevin and staff.
Great.
I think we have eager partners.
Fantastic.
Right, and I wasn't on this particular document originally, but as we've passed the other two, I'm willing to work on this one.
Yeah, we need the Socratic chops. We could use it. Thank you.
Yeah, this is not my area of expertise, so I just love the idea of it being regenerative and that it's, that we can invest in these before we invest in, those unreversible technologies that harm our communities. And so I think that's the part where I really want to learn more and understand.
All right.
Thanks.
Seeing no additional or hearing no additional discussion at this point, that should take us to our next agenda item, which is review and approval of the June 12th, 2025 EJAC public meeting minutes. Those have been posted and made available on the EJAC website. We'd like to review and adopt those minutes now. Any discussion from the committee on those minutes? Matt Holmes, I see your, yep.
I can wait. I just would say that I found them consistent and have no objection to moving to approve.
Thank you. All right. Any other discussion from committee members? I'll give it a moment. And these are provided in advance, so never expecting anybody to read and review in the moment. Okay, hearing no additional discussion on the minutes, we'll now take public comment on this item before we take action on this item. And because this item is also the last substantive item on the agenda today, we can go ahead and combine this with the general public comment. So we'll now move to public comment. If you'd like to make a comment on this agenda item or any other agenda item today, please raise your hand. Looking to the room, seeing no one in the room for public comment. Seeing 2 hands raised at this time and about 46 virtual attendees. Abigail, I see your hand raised. We will unmute you on our end and you can go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Wonderful. My name is Abigail DeSessa. I am a resident of Val Verde Canyon in the town of Castaic in the unincorporated area of Los Angeles County. I live less than 1 mile from a very unnatural land use. I live next to Chiquita Canyon landfill. On the note of unnatural land use and unreversible damages, I'd like to bring up that in 2023, methane released by California landfills were equivalent to more than 5 million cars on the road, and that the EPA suggests methane is underreported by these landfills by as much as 40 to 51%. In addition, methane is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide in the short term, 80 times. I hope that this committee, which I'm brand new to and super excited about having just found, is actually looking into this very unnatural land use. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking in the room, seeing no commenters, looking back virtually. Mike Bullock, we see your hand raised. You should be unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I have one comment on the minutes. And I think the last public commenter really made the point for me. Public comment is very important. That was an excellent statement that you got there. And so I think the minutes should have some information about the number of public speakers there were, the number of public speakers that were listening in, and so on and so forth. So now I also want to back up. I'm sorry that you didn't take a public comment on the public lands, working lands, so on and so forth. And I wish you could get that that statement up there on the screen. Maybe you can't do that, where it says, whereas meaningful climate actions for immediate cessation of, I would like to help offer suggestions for the wording there. Meaningful should be replaced with climate stabilizing. And that point was made by Attorney General Kamala Harris in 2011, her letter to Sandag. We have to stabilize the climate. That's what we're all trying to do here today. So meaningful is, that's a nice word, but climate stabilizing is more to the point. And then it says climate actions, and that's good. But the immediate cessation, of course, nothing happens immediately. And instead, that should be specified reductions. But after specified, you need to have in parentheses SB 32 for year 2030, and then net zero by 2045. Those are what we have to do. There's no immediate cessation, can't say the word. And fossil fuel consumption is not the right word, it's combustion. We have to stop fossil fuel combustion. Nobody eats fossil fuel, so I don't get that word consumption. And so on and so forth. I mean, I could go through that whole thing. I've been working at this since 2007, when I retired after 36 years at Lockheed, and I've gotten a lot of resolutions in the California Democratic Party platform, and so I do this work, and I could help that resolution a lot. I think I made some points there that it's not consumption, it's combustion, and so on and so forth. And we're meaningful. You have to be more specific than that. And it's climate stabilizing, which doesn't mean the climate doesn't change anymore. That means that it doesn't destabilize. Avoiding climate destabilization, which would be horrendous, and is probably going to happen because we just don't seem to be very interested. CARB has a plan to solve it, and so we should be obsessed with that plan because it's our only hope, it's our salvation. And instead of being obsessed with it, we totally don't even talk about it. So anyway, a lot of work needs to be done. I mean, and a lot of good work is being done. I appreciate your work.
Thank you. All right, looking back to the room, seeing no public commenters in the room. Looking back virtually, reminding our virtual attendees, this is both a public comment period for the minutes along with a general public comment period. Seeing no hands raised at this time, we'll now take action on the meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
Yeah, this is Tom Helm. I make a
Motion to
motion to approve the June 12th, 2025 minutes.
Thank
Second.
you. Kevin, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I had motion to approve, but I didn't take myself off mute.
Thank you. We got your second. All right. I will now take a vote on this item. Martha Dina Arguello,
Yes.
Juan Flores, Dr. Catherine Garupa,
I will abstain since I was not present at the June meeting.
Kevin Hamilton,
Yes.
Don Harrell Jr., Tom Helm,
Yes.
Matt Holmes,
Aye.
Kevin Jefferson,
I will abstain since I was not present.
Ray Leon, Luis Almeida,
Approve.
Jill Sherman Warren,
Yes.
that's 6 in favor. The motion passes. All right, moving to the end of the meeting now, I will turn it over to CARB to provide their announcements.
Thank you, Jane. Hi, everyone. My name is Cristobal Kamadu, and I am the Equity Analyst in the Office of Environmental Justice, Tribal Affairs, and Border Relations. Thank you all so much for today's discussion. I would like to provide some announcements on upcoming events of interest for EJAC and public awareness. These upcoming events are listed in today's meeting agenda on CARB's EJAC webpage and are on the screen, as well as in table format, so everyone can see what is upcoming. Today, from 1 to 3:30 p.m., CARB held a workshop on the draft funding and policy for the fiscal year 2025 to 2026 Clean Transportation Incentives Funding Plan. On August 19th, from 5 to 7 p.m., CARB will hold a public meeting on clean transportation incentives for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 funding the plan development. On August 28th and 29th, CARB will hold a board meeting. For more information, please visit CARB's board meeting webpage. Please note that the public comment period on draft requirements and criteria for planning and capacity building requests for applications will run for 30 days. So please submit your comments by August 29th, 2025. As you may be aware, on September 11th, there will be a CARB EJAC joint board meeting in Sacramento from 4 to 8:30 p.m. On September 16th, from 5 to 7 p.m., CARB is holding an evening community meeting on clean transportation incentives for a cleaner California. On September 25th and 26th, CARB is having a board meeting. As stated, more information on the board meeting can be found on CARB's board meeting webpage. Also note that CARB has released updated application templates for the Low Carbon Fuel Standard Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure programs. Lastly, the California Dairy and Livestock Database version 1.1.0 and the associated technical document have been released. For more information, please visit the link in the table. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Jane.
Sorry, thank you. All right. At this time, we will turn it over to the EJAC co-chairs for next steps and closing remarks. And I'll invite Martha, Dina, and Kevin Jefferson to provide those, and note that Dr. Catherine will not be providing closing remarks.
Thanks. This is Marta. I'm on my phone because I had a power outage at home, and so I'm not on camera. But let's see. So we're clear. So some next steps is that we will be finishing up the natural and working lands resolution in preparation for the October meeting. We want to plan. I want to reestablish the subquorum committee so that we can prepare for the joint board meeting, the joint EJAC and CARB board meeting that's coming up in September. And so you will probably be getting some emails to be part of those prep calls. And we will be using the resolutions as a key part, and we'll share those with the board as key parts of our conversation. And with that, that's all I have to say. Just thank you everyone for all the work to get through the resolutions to this point, and the support of the CARB staff for keeping us on track. And we will need folks to be responsive as we get ready for that September 11th board meeting. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Kevin Jefferson?
Yeah, I would just like to thank the team for staying on course. It's been tremendous efforts, times, energy that is spent on this endeavor. And we are steadying the course, staying the course, fighting the fight. So I just want to thank everyone for continuing to give it your all. And it's great to see you all. Safe travels, and look forward to seeing you all again.
I know that we're about to close, but I just got a text that there's folks who are having a hard time getting their hand raised for public comment, and that there was a public comment. Is there room to be able to accommodate that person?
Yes, thank you for making us aware. We were not aware of that. So we're out of the general public comment period, but because of technical difficulties, we will extend the public comment period at this time. I see a hand raised. Jeff Ellsworth, please go ahead.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can, thank you.
Great. I'll be brief. My name is Jeff Ellsworth. I'm the former mayor of first, I want to thank you for the work you're doing. I'm the former mayor of St. Helena in Napa County, and I'm now a member of California LULAC, which is the League of United Latin American Citizens, and the California LULAC Napa Valley Waste Workers Advisory Committee. I spoke today to the Water Board and have been having trouble getting them to understand that there are significant concerns with long-term impacts and a lack of accountability to the primarily Latino workforce at Upper Valley Disposal Service and Clover Flat Landfill in Napa County. This pertains to all parts of the EPA in terms of water, air, etc. So this includes incidents such as fires, unregulated radioactivity, and a Latino worker fatality. And I've just returned from the LULAC National Conference in Southern California, where a national level LULAC resolution was adopted addressing this matter, including reference to additional Latino waste worker deaths in the San Francisco Bay Area since the beginning of just this year at other waste companies in the jurisdiction of the San Francisco Bay Area Regional Water Board. The recent deaths of Latino workers occurred at Recology in Brisbane and at the Alco Scrap Metal Facility in San Leandro. I will, which indicates a systemic problem, and I will provide the LULAC national level resolution as it is finalized. Our California LULAC Waste Worker Advisory Committee has met on this issue as well with the California Department of Labor and Office of California Assembly Member Liz Ortega of the 20th District, that includes San Leandro, and who has raised significant concerns regarding a breakdown of oversight on these matters. We'll also be reaching out to the Assembly representative from the 21st District representing Brisbane, and we are hearing from more Latino workers who point to systemic problems in reporting water and environmental contamination, workplace safety concerns, and civil rights concerns. These comments are also being provided to leadership at LULAC California national levels, as well as to the California State Water Board and other relevant agencies. I'll finish up here with one last paragraph. The tragic deaths and the mistreatment of these Latino waste workers, including at Upper Valley Disposal Service, Clover Flat Landfill in Napa County, highlight a larger environmental problem when waste workers are untrained, fearful, or unable to register complaints over mismanagement of toxic and contaminated waste and fire-prone waste that can escape into the broader environment and public waterways that are the purview of the Water Board and other agencies. In light of ongoing national events, the commitment to racial equity and protection of civil rights is up to all of us and each of us on a day-to-day basis. On a board level, staff level, and personal level, it's all of our responsibility. And so I just want to make these comments. I appreciate the work you are doing, and hope that we can circle in to put more focus on this issue with the waste workers here, the Latino waste workers being impacted. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the facilitator, can you make sure that we get his contact information, please?
So I do want to add, thank you, Jeff. You came to one of our other EJAC meetings, and we started to look into this, and as an organization, not as the EJAC, but it's pretty stunning. And so I want to thank you for bringing this up. Our team, and we'll be communicating as well again on some of the things that we have found out, and it's pretty alarming that some of these places have fires that will burn for up to 30 years because no one knows how to, and you can't call them a fire because it's technically a chemical reaction. So it is a hugely important issue in terms of public health and worker health and safety. So thank you for bringing it up to us.
Thank you. With that, I'll make one additional comment about next steps, which is I'm happy to coordinate any revisions for the natural working lands resolution and coordinate with the subgroup on making sure we get revisions from all committee members and those are reviewed and incorporated. So with that, yes, we do have the joint meeting coming up on September 11th. So just a reminder of that. And with that, that concludes our meeting. The time is now 2:47. We are adjourned.